Okay, so firstly, let's have a look at gold. So what we have over here in gold is a market, that's been captured by these lower highs. You can see this horizontal level towards downside. A few of the guys are looking at these lows over here for potential momentum play towards these lows. So this is the spot market 131, 13, 12. So that's the first little area the guys look at. Let me see if I can bring up my profile, because I want to show you a few things on the profile, and if I can find it for you here, I think that's it over there. So this is gold. Okay, so this is the levels. You can see these two daily lows over here, quite important daily lows. We breached the one daily low in the overnight markets over here by a couple of ticks. But will it really open up if we trade below the 130, 132? You can see we have had these quick rejections, quick fire tail, another little tail, hasn't spent much time over here. So just a little bit of aware that maybe the downside is being supported by a buyer in the market. Now, if we do start trading higher, what I'm going to be keeping a very close eye from just an intraday momentum skill perspective, I think it's around here. So if I just manipulate this a little bit, so if I think it's over there, so if I just remove all splits, reset all distributions, so if I go again, BE, there we go. So for me this morning, if we do hold those lows, so we've got to play towards the downside. If the market comes here toward, with volume, with volatility, and I do remember we're going into Fed next week, so the market can still continue to be lethargic, waiting for the FOMC next week, and you can just, trade in the range. Now, it could just, balance this area that didn't really trade much yesterday, but if we do start trading back into this little value area between 132.20 and 132.41. You can see this little volume zone before we broke down yesterday. So if we come back into here, I expect it to shift quite rapidly and quite quickly back above here and maybe make its way towards this value area high and this TPOC zone over here. So just a little momentum scalp play towards the downside if we do start entering. So that's one of my upside scenarios, because I watched this really closely yesterday, and I knew, and you could see what the volume and activity on the order flow on the price ladder was. So if I see a changing activity, that will be a stimulation for me to start executing towards the upside, as opposed to, and then, did mention the downside, look for any of the, potential stop plays below this zone, and therefore the broader range over here, move towards the downside, and this 200-day moving average, which comes at 1289. So if we do start moving towards the downside, there's nothing really stopping gold until you can see this horizontal level over here and the 200-day moving average. Okay, so that's gold for you. So now let's look at oil. Now oil also, captured by these lower highs, really beautiful horizontal top, and the futures market looked really beautiful. So guys, again, keeping I would prefer a downside break, because I always like horizontal breaks. Trend line breaks a little bit more difficult, because the reason why is when it breaks, well, then it's encountering another previous higher high or a higher high. So when it breaks, you don't really know where the true move could happen. Whereas a horizontal break, you can clearly see the multiple lows, or a horizontal break to the upside, the multiple highs. But this again is being very congested, and so guys, again, keeping an eye on the extremes of oil at the moment, and seeing how this will resolve itself. Now, having a look finally at the Canadian dollar yesterday. So this was a level that we're talking about mapping, but it was the taking out of this 130 area in the spot market. You can see these multiple highs yesterday. We had an inside day prior to yesterday, and then we had a really nice move above the 130 area over here, and once it breached, it never really looked back, just stuck to in the futures market's lows and the spot market on its highs, and really moved quite nicely towards the upside. Now the path of least resistance really comes in only at 132, where it broke down over here, so there's nothing really been traded over here. So can the market continue towards the upside? But what made this trade even better is the guys have been watching the positive rhetoric on NAFTA, or no tariffs on Mexico and Canada, and the Canadian dollar could hardly strengthen. That was your first clue. When it can't, on the back of fundamentals, and not go in the direction where you'd assume on the fundamentals, and it starts approaching key technical levels, well, then you're going to have a greater propensity for a move, because it's the unwinding of a potential fundamental bias. So the guys factored that into the equation as they started getting involved in this trade towards the upside on the spot market, or in our instance on the futures.